very first video series of No Place Is Too Far. We have titled this video Sustainability Simplified, and you are watching episode 2. Why is it important to switch to sustainable lifestyle and sustainable architecture? But before beginning the video, if you haven't watched the first episode, you should watch it. You can find the link to the video in the description box below or in our Instagram bio. So let's begin the video. As a guest for today's video, we have Mr. Yash Sirolia, who is a final year urban design student at CEPT University, Ahmedabad. So let's start the video with his introduction. Hello Yash Bhaiya and welcome to the show. Thank you for being here. Let's start with your introduction.
So, myself Yash Sirolia. I'm an architect and an emerging urban designer, pursuing my urban design from Ahmedabad. Soon to be an urbanist and an architect, what else? Yeah.
You completed your graduation in architecture.
Yes.
Oh wow. So what made you switch from architecture to urban design?
See, to understand the context from an individual house to the city, it's important to understand how the city works. This what took me to the urban nature of things, the built environment, development, and the ecosystem at large.
And you are a final year student,
Yes.
right?
Soon to be a postgraduate to say.
Okay, so let's begin the video with the first question. The first question is, what is sustainability and what is sustainable architecture?
So see, don't get bogged down by such big terms as to sustainability is what, but it's a simple idea as to when you suffice your need and when you also take into concern as to how the future generation would have the basis of taking few of the resources and build their own ideas and build their own future. So it's important to take into concern their aspects. It's important to take into concern how the future generation will work, and we as we as ancestors has a kind of what you can say responsibility to do something for them, give them a proper setup so as they can grow ahead. But our greed and need has a thin line of difference now. It's not much, and that's what is leading people to overutilization of resources.
And so is it, what's the balance? It's sustainability. Can we explain that sustainability is a balance between nature, between our needs and what we have naturally?
So it's a kind of, if I put it technically, so you would be hearing these terms where people they talk about zero carbon emissions, neutrality,
negative carbon
emissions and all of that ideas. So this is where we try to approach this. Somehow we don't leave a footprint behind.
Okay.
So it's just that idea.
And what is sustainable architecture?
So sustainable architecture is something where you design a built environment that is energy efficient, that is development oriented, but dense in the nature, so as it doesn't leave an imprint on, it doesn't has a large sprawl as such, and we don't take up much of the greenfields for development as far as urban nature is concerned. And as far as the proper built environment, a single house is concerned, it's like how efficient is that house in its working, in its resource use, in its ability to be grounded with the nearby environment. It's all about that.
Okay. So when we talk about India, we have so many different climatic zones. So how should one go about sustainability, keeping the climate in perspective?
So see, considering the terrain, so for that, for an easy answer of that question, one should understand as to what had been and happening within those zones. One should understand the vernacular, because that's the basis of our development. We have taken our instances from the past, and we are now building upon a future that has an inspiration from past. So that's how built environment has also emerged. When you consider the case of Rajasthan, you see stone houses, while when you consider the case of Himachal, you see wooden and mud houses, and in the upper plains towards the Ladakh, where it's kind of cold desert, you see mud houses, like cold mud, and then towards the south, when you go ahead, you see wooden architecture, and then towards the Meghalayas, you see again wooden architecture and different kinds of abilities, and they have also developed their ways as to how they should relate to the environment and how they should fight the problems that they have always been facing, you know.
Okay, so is it true when we bring one local culture to another place, sustainability somewhere harms the environment?
No, it's like it doesn't harms the environment. There are these two ideas. How do you see culture as now? Although we are talking about sustainability to be precise, but somehow culture also plays a role. If culturally you want something at your place that may not be environmentally sustainable, then you want it. Then it's your want.
It's a need.
Once it realized that's a want. It's not a need.
Okay.
So that's a thin line difference that people they always struggle with, and it's not a clear short answer as to okay, I want something sustainable. Let's do that's trendy and let's do it. So it doesn't happen in a shot. You have to have an understanding as to how sustainability is not just an achievement to be made, but a lifestyle to be pursued.
Got your point. So, okay, so I'm not assuming actually. I believe that sustainability is not something you do an action, it's done. It's basically a process, you continue doing it. It's never done.
It's never done. It can't happen. You see, you take some traits. You know that now you need to be, suppose for the case now we talk about this Swachh Bharat mission and where we talk about let's spread cleanliness. Okay. So this is something that you will pass on to future generation. No? So automatically it will improve year by year, decade by decade. That's the same case with sustainability. First of all, you have to get conceived by that idea, and then you can take that forward, and future generation will just take over, and then slowly things will get improved step by step.
Okay.
It's not one shot success.
It's not you do one thing one day and it's done and you say yourself to be a sustainable person. So when I cut down to the whole sustainable architecture thing, when I cut down it to Jain, the city where we are sitting in currently, what materials would you advise to use people in general, and considering that cement is not a sustainable material to be used in building homes, but again the solution is not black and white and people will not stop using cement. So what is the solution?
So it's like, see, one should understand what is the need. If the need is, let's say, certain space that I need a room, and a room would suffice my need. But we make an extra one, so as we may need in future. So that's how it starts. That's how the process starts, and you end up making a really big home, and then you spend a lot of money in for electricity bills, for electrical appliances. So somehow, if you have said that okay, I have created a sustainable home, but in practices you are not sustainable in nature, and actually you are putting more energy for kind of in smooth functioning of that place. So that's how it works. So and when I'm talking about cement as a material, so it's like see, when I said need, so once you reduce the need, you reduce the amount of unsustainable material that you use. I'm not saying don't use it. I'm saying understand as to how much you need and how much you need to use it, and wherever is it necessary, then you use it. It's fine. But then it comes to the idea of how you use it. How you use it as in the design nature. Here architecture plays into this, where you talk about contextual environments, contextual built environments, where you talk about as to if the sun rises from this particular direction and if I could get a direct sunlight from the morning, so then you don't have to use electrical appliances in the morning at least. So that's where you get into small short practices. It's like switching off your light when you move out of your room. So it's like it's just that. So it's of similar nature. So architecture has that potential. It provides you that potential. It provides you that idea. So design has that capability where to place the windows, where to how smooth my place would work without an AC. Can you do something that I don't have to like turn on my AC for the whole of the day, and maybe over only seasonal during summers if I need. So let's fall into those conversations. That's the key, to start with. If you fall into those conversations, automatically you will fall into place of creating a place that is more sustainable in nature, as to say.
Okay, so I think that sustainability is not only when you choose a particular materials to use. Instead, it's a whole process. It starts from when you think of building a house, when you think of building an apartment, a building, and also when you look to the climate, to the nature in general. I think the nature gives you the answer.
Yes, it does. It always does.
Yeah, when you talk about from which direction the sun is rising, you only have to think in mind the direction and where to place your doors or windows.
But that's the whole problem. You see, we have not fallen into the process of as to building something that is contextual. You don't care about who is your neighbor, and neither you care about like who is your neighbor in terms of is that an apartment or is that a bungalow, and neither we care in terms of as to how much I need and will that particular place would be able to generate that particular need. So we don't think before buying the land, and I'm not saying that you should think before buying the land, but what you should do is you should go to the professionals as to who can think about as to what should be the best use of that particular place. That's how the conversation is. It's not like saying I want to extend a room, let's call a contractor today and let's do it. It doesn't work that way. You should fall into that complete process.
How robust are green homes when we talk in general when compared to cement homes or brick homes?
See, I'll just explain it through a simple idea as to when you are sensitized to the nearby environment. The same goes to yourself as to environment, also sensitized with your built environment, and that's how it plays. So to put that question in place, your answer lies in, for example, if people are aware about as to there are this Bunga house forms in Kutch, and they have been there for long, and there has been this recent tragedy where there was this earthquake, and there were only these Bunga houses that were standing. So the answer lies directly, like I don't have to say anything. So this is how it is. So and cities are facing those issues. Like consider the case of Mumbai, where like although Mumbai has a different problems as to the water management and different other issues, but so this is how, when you're sensitized to the environment and you know how the water will flow from your place and how the water will flow through a locality, through a neighborhood, through a context, through a precinct, through your region and through your city, then you won't fall into this particular trap. Although this is not the direct reason I'm trying to say here, but this is just one of the reasons that you can take it.
Okay. So I think the solution is going to the past and taking inspiration.
Yeah, taking inspiration from it, and also first of all limitizing your needs, limitizing your requirements, limitizing as to if that could function in this particular amount of space, then why to waste a certain amount of space just because I want a big home, or just because I want a bigger room, or just because Ujjain is not Mumbai. So
True.
land is cheap. Let's build a bigger house. Let's build a haveli. Stuff.
So I think deciding when to stop is one of the best solutions you can do. When we cut down to one building, let's suppose we are building one home today. What, according to you, are the key aspects to keep in mind when building a green home or a sustainable home?
So technically speaking, that there are these two kind of strategies one can recognize. So it's like active and passive. So when you're talking about active building practices, active measures of design, you are talking about the sensitive measures that you take, like where to place the window, how should my house be oriented, where can I create a microclimate so that I could get a cooler wind within my apartments or within my floor space or something like that. So it's that active measures are something like that. And when we talk about the passive measures, those are actually the technologically sound materials that you use, and those may be costly affair, may not be costly affair, but they has to be used over a certain period of time, and then you can incur the cost. It's like talking about solar panels, and when you say that okay, let's put solar panel this year. So yeah, it's a costly affair. You see, no one can actually do it directly as to they think, they plan, and they do it. But you know that after a certain period of time, my energy requirements would limit, and then I won't have to pay electricity bills. Then I could balance it out. I could balance my cost out. I could balance my expenses out. This is what it is.
So, talking about sustainable practices or sustainable energy in general is a one-time investment in the very first go,
Yes.
but it would be worth in a longer
Worth it,
run
yes.
when you see it. Okay. Also, how expensive it is to build a sustainable home when compared to normal brick and mortar cement homes?
So see, expense is also something similar kind of, let's say, if you are living in a certain apartment size of, let's say, or certain floor space size of 100 square. same home can be built in different materials. If you also understand this idea as to if I build that 100 square meter in mud, it would be cheap. If I build that 100 square meter in stone, it would be costly. If I put that 100 square meter in concrete, it would like somewhere in between. So you understand that cost at first. And when you understand that cost, you also understand, okay, so let's use the cheap material, but then it might not last longer, it might require maintenance. Let's use the robust material that may cost a lot, but it might not require maintenance. So this is how it is.
Okay, one more thing. When we talk about homes, not a lot of people already have built their homes and they didn't even think about the whole sustainable idea back then. So what these people can do, what energy, how more efficient can we make these homes more energy efficient, water efficient? How? What are
So what we can do is, see, now you have some place into existence, and maybe over the period of time you have become sustainable because suppose your house is say 50 or 100 years old, but you are still having a carbon footprint. How? Because of energy requirements and because of your resource use, as in water and energy as such. So when you're talking about an existing environment, then what you can do is you can to start with water harvesting. Somehow rainwater harvesting to start with. So somehow you are enabling your house to recharge groundwater levels.
Okay.
That's one thing. The second thing is where you employ solar panels or something like that, where you try to cut off your energy requirements from on-grid basis. You try to be like, kind of self-sufficient in terms of energy requirements. And then small practices as to switching off your lights. Something that you learn when you are in 5th class or 5th standard, 8th standards. So these are the small ideas that they say that turn your vehicle off when you are at the signal. So it's like it's those small steps, but that can actually like build up the whole thing.
And also using appliances that comes with as simple as a 5-star rating.
5-star, yes.
Those are more
So
energy efficient.
Yes, exactly.
And these are
And you understand that idea as to okay, 5-star rating, मेरा बिजली का bill कम आएगा. So let's buy that. But you also know that 5-star rating appliances are costly.
True.
So this is how it is.
Again, it comes down to it's a one-time cost.
It's a one-time cost, and then you
longer
yes,
run.
same.
Okay.
Same is the idea.
And when I talk about what are the parameters that one would judge that he or she or person has a sustainable in a home, like a green home, what are the parameters that I can judge my home sustainable?
So see, parameters come along with how you live, how you understand life, how you understand your lifestyle. If you are wanting something and if you are not doing anything, as in you can become sustainable from today, right now. If you are observant and if you are sensitive as to I am harming the environment, let's not use a plastic bag. That's the first small step that you are already taken. So you wouldn't ever realize as to when I would need a sustainable home, because that would fall into your practice. Using mud is therapeutic. So that's the whole idea. You understand that if the material is therapeutic, so then why not to have a at least a outhouse of mud, and where I can practice yoga, where I can have my exercises, and it's good for my bodily postures and all of that. And studies they in fact show that this kind of practices, they in fact cure large diseases like osteoporosis, because you don't have to walk on hard surfaces. So this is the whole idea. People, they say that you should have some green lawn within, or green grass within your house, so that you can walk around in the morning. So those are the small things, but this whole nature of creating a built environment comes with the larger idea of having a sustainable lifestyle.
Okay.
And that's the whole point, having a sustainable lifestyle. See, when you equip yourself in having a sustainable lifestyle, every step you will take you closer to the idea of having a green environment, having an eco-friendly home, having a sustainable practices, using green mobility options. You would become sensitive as to by doing this, am I harming the environment? You will keep asking that question. And that's the whole idea. When you ask that question, am I harming that environment, or is that okay? So this is where the thinking starts. So first of all, what we need to do is we need to equip ourselves into that understanding of becoming environment friendly. You become friend to the environment, and environment will definitely help you out. It always does.
So, I think little awareness goes a long way.
Yes, that's
it all
what.
starts with awareness, and there is no one-shot solution that
Yes.
if you're using mud as a material to build your house doesn't mean that you are sustainable.
Yeah, it's nothing like you can go to a shop today and ask for, okay, let's buy this. I'm sustainable. Yo, it doesn't.
I have even seen people using just a bamboo toothbrush
like-
and saying they are sustainable.
So it's a step towards a larger thing, but it's not something that you have already done it.
Okay. And also let's take an example. If I build a sustainable house that is say 10 kilometers from the city, and every day I have to travel 10 kilometers back to the city. So I am using transport.
So you
here
understand now.
In
So
spite
you-
of building a
So by having this conversation, now you have gotten into that understanding as to, okay, this doesn't make sense. I should live at least closer if I am traveling 10 kilometers through, let's say, my mobility vehicle. So this is what the whole idea is.
So when I put it in very simple terms, since the time humans were born, we are harming the environment in one or some other way because we are taking away the land and coping up with our needs. So how does one go about it? Because with the increasing population and the increasing income capabilities, people won't stop building. So how does one go about it building in general?
So the simple answer would be stop living at first. So maybe you will reduce the carbon footprint at large. But yes, that's a fair deal. That how one should go about it. And an easy answer would be, let's say you have 100 square meter of plot. Then you equip a professional and say there is this one requirement I have, and that is that I don't want to hamper the environment. I have this 100 square of plot as a garden now, and I want to keep it as a garden, but I also want 100 square meter of place. How can you do that? So what a simple answer would be, why not you replace that 100 square garden on floor to a 100 square garden of green terrace. So somehow you are balancing out the amount of greens that you already had to the amount of greens that you all again make into picture. So this is something that if you are hampering 100 square meter of area, then you should also build an equal amount of space to reduce your carbon footprint. So that's the whole idea. Although it won't create the whole ecosystem. But it would somewhere, if not 100, you will reach 50% of reducing your carbon footprint of creating that 100%.
So
100 square meter.
So I think if you're building a 100 square kilometer house,
Square meter.
sorry.
Okay.
If you're building a 100 square meter house, you're going here, and again you're balancing out by
Yes.
giving back to the environment
Something.
in general of
Something.
equivalent size.
It won't be equivalent always, but at least something.
Something is better than nothing.
Something, yeah, actually. Because you see, when there's this barren ground, so there is a larger ecosystem that exists. There are variety of trees, variety of floras and faunas that exist. And you are not able to create that when you're talking about a terrace garden space. But somewhere you are able to create some amount of some. That's really less. That's 20, 30 or maybe 40%. But somewhere it is at least helping a bit. So let's at least try to reach that bit, if not at large. That's what it is.
So I think living a more sustainable lifestyle has a lot to do with, say, if you're using a plastic box today. So you should know how
true.
to balance out
Balance it out.
balance it out in the nature. Say again, so you would not use maybe you would use a cycle for your commute to work. So
Simple
balancing out.
idea would be, let's say if you have a plastic bag at place, and when you're going out to buy something, why not to take that bag again rather than having a bag
New
from
bag.
the shopkeeper. So that's the simple idea that one should follow. That take this and do it. It's like that. So if you have existing something at your place, don't build over it. Don't just ruin resources. That's what it is. Technology has come into picture. In fact, plastic has came into picture, and we it's a cheap material and we could do a lot many things. But now it's again hampering the environment because you're overusing it. The problem is you're overusing it. You're over-wasting it. Packagings in XYZ. Now this after this COVID and pandemic scenario, this masks and all this medical waste. So, but what to do if you want safety? This waste would be generated. But now how will you balance out? That's what it is.
So I think the biggest takeaway from this conversation would be first to realize how much you need, the
Yes,
difference between the
exactly.
need and want, and lifting yourself to the need and not reaching the moon level for the first of all. And the second of all, there is no one-stop solution to building.
No, it won't be.
It's sustainable
It never
building.
be.
Yes,
Will never
true.
be.
And the whole idea is to balance out one thing with
Yes, exactly.
the other. Okay, great. So thank you.
I would just like to end it with a small
Sure.
idea as to if you care for your younger generation, so start living a sustainable lifestyle. Otherwise, they won't be able to exist on this
Exist.
planet anymore, and you might be the reason for the extinction of human race. Yes.
Because at this point we have come to the stage, if we don't start caring
Yes,
now,
actually.
we will lose everything we have gained
That's what.
this far. Okay, wow. So that's it. I think that would be it for today. Thank you for being here, Yashika. Thank you for coming on to the series and coming to this show.
And it's always great to, at least one should, we as a professional has a duty to reach people.
People, true.
That's what we guys are doing somehow.
Thank you for the talk. Thank you once
Thank you,
again.
thank you for having me.